Welcome to another heartwarming story on KindSoul Stories. Today, we bring you the incredible journey of a retired mechanic whose simple act of kindness changes the life of a little girl forever. Watch as a tricycle sparks laughter, hope, and a community united by compassion. Stay tuned till the end for a story that will truly touch your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let's get started. Frank had always been a man of quiet habits. The rhythmic clanging of wrenches and the faint smell of engine oil had defined most of his life. But now, retired in a modest Ohio neighborhood, the silence felt heavier than he expected. He had spent decades fixing engines, rebuilding old cars, and making broken machines run as if they were brand new. Every corner of his garage was a memory, tools lined up with precision, shelves stacked with spare parts, and engines half disassembled as if frozen in time. Yet despite the nostalgia, a certain emptiness lingered. One bright afternoon, Frank decided to take a walk through the streets of his neighborhood, a routine he had developed to break the monotony of retirement. The streets were lined with small houses, each with its own story, lawns neatly trimmed and kids playing here and there. As he wandered, his eyes caught sight of a little girl struggling on the sidewalk. She moved slowly, her tiny hands gripping the straps of a small backpack. Something about her cautious steps and uncertain gaze tugged at Frank's heart. Curiosity led him closer, and he saw that the girl, Lily, had difficulty walking steadily. She stumbled a few times, but managed to keep herself upright. Her mother followed closely behind, worry etched across her face. Frank noticed the way the girl looked at the children, playing with bicycles and tricycles across the street. There was longing in her eyes, a desire to join in the laughter and motion, yet a clear sense of hesitation. It was evident that Lily had never experienced the simple joy of riding, something most children took for granted. Her mother, noticing Frank's approach, offered a small, polite smile. "Hello, sir," she said softly. "This is Lily. She's never really been able to ride. She's mute and walking is difficult for her." Frank nodded, listening carefully. The words weren't sad in tone. They were simply matter of fact, but they resonated deeply with him. He thought about all the bikes and tricycles in garages and thrift stores he had worked on over the years, and suddenly an idea sparked in his mind. Perhaps he could do more than just watch from afar. Frank invited Lily and her mother to come by his garage the next day. The garage, cluttered with old engines and half-finished projects, was like stepping into another era. Frank showed her mother the tools and the workbench, explaining carefully what he intended to do. "I think I can build something for her," he said, voice calm yet tinged with excitement. The mother hesitated for a moment, doubt flickering in her eyes, but nodded. She could see the sincerity in Frank's expression, the way his hands moved, even as he spoke, gesturing naturally, like a man who had spent a lifetime bringing things to life. Over the next several days, Frank spent every morning in the garage. He sketched designs on scraps of paper, measuring carefully and considering Lily's tiny frame. The tricycle would need to be sturdy, stable, and easy for her to pedal without strain. He rummaged through his shelves for the right parts, pulling out old metal tubes, wheels, and handlebars. Every piece was carefully inspected and polished. Frank's neighbors, curious at first, began peeking into the garage. They had grown accustomed to his quiet presence, but now they saw him animated, focused, and smiling in a way that had been rare since his retirement. Frank's mind wandered back to his own childhood as he worked. He remembered the excitement of riding his first bike, the thrill of speed, and the endless laughter that came with freedom. He could still feel the bumps and falls, the scraped knees, and the small victories of balance. And now he thought he had a chance to give that joy to someone else, someone who had never experienced it. It was more than a project, it was a mission. Frank's hands moved with precision, welding the frame, tightening screws, and painting the metal a bright, cheerful yellow. Every evening, he would step back, wipe the sweat from his brow, and imagine Lily's face when she first sat on the tricycle. He pictured her eyes lighting up, her laughter filling the air, and perhaps even the neighbors stopping to watch in amazement. He was building more than a machine. He was building a bridge to happiness, a small miracle that could transform a quiet, struggling little girl's world. Frank had never thought of himself as a hero, but in those moments, he felt the warmth of purpose he hadn't realized he had missed. Neighbors began to notice small changes as well. Some children would linger near the garage, whispering and pointing as Frank worked. A few would offer to help, fetching tools or holding parts in place. Frank smiled at them kindly, explaining gently that he needed to make sure every detail was perfect. The community's curiosity slowly turned into shared anticipation. Everyone was waiting to see what this quiet, retired mechanic could accomplish. And Frank, focused on the task at hand, felt a growing sense of pride and determination that made his hands work faster, his heart beat stronger. Finally, after days of effort, the tricycle took shape. It was compact but sturdy, with pedals perfectly aligned for Lily's legs and a seat designed to keep her comfortable. The bright yellow frame gleamed under the garage lights, decorated with cheerful stickers that Frank had chosen himself. Every weld, every bolt, every curve was carefully considered, and now, as he stood back, he felt a surge of accomplishment. This wasn't just a tricycle. It was a promise of joy, independence, and laughter waiting to be unlocked. The next morning, Frank wheeled the tricycle to Lily's house. Her mother and the little girl were waiting, eyes wide with curiosity. Frank knelt beside Lily and gently helped her onto the seat, explaining carefully what she needed to do. She hesitated at first, uncertain and cautious, but something in Frank's calm presence gave her confidence. Her mother held her hand gently, encouraging her. Frank smiled softly, heart swelling. This moment, simple as it seemed, was about to become unforgettable, for him, for Lily, and for everyone who would witness her first experience of freedom. Frank spent the next morning making final adjustments to the tricycle in Lily's driveway. Sunlight reflected off the bright yellow paint, making the tiny wheels gleam. He checked the pedals, tightened the bolts, and tested the balance with a careful push. Lily stood nearby, her wide eyes following every movement. She seemed both nervous and curious, her small hands fidgeting with the straps of her backpack. Her mother encouraged her softly, reminding her that Frank was there to help. The neighborhood was unusually quiet that morning, as if everyone instinctively knew something extraordinary was about to happen. Frank knelt beside Lily and explained in gentle, calm motions how to position her feet on the pedals. He held the tricycle steady while she tested the pedals slowly, unsure of how much force to use. Her tiny legs wobbled and she hesitated, glancing at her mother for reassurance. Frank's voice was steady, guiding her patiently, just one push at a time. "You've got this." He could see the determination building in her eyes. It was subtle at first, but her focus was growing. For the first time, she wasn't frustrated. She was curious, testing her own limits. The first few attempts were awkward. The tricycle swayed slightly as Lily pushed down on the pedals, barely moving forward. Frank steadied it carefully, using his hands to keep her upright while she gained confidence. Her mother cheered softly, clapping each small victory. Across the street, a few neighbors paused to watch, sensing the magic in this quiet morning. Frank's heart pounded in his chest, not from nervousness, but from anticipation. He had spent days building this tricycle, imagining this exact moment, and now that it had arrived, the scene felt surreal and fragile, as if one wrong move could shatter the magic. On her fourth attempt, something changed. Lily's movements became more coordinated, her legs pushing down with more confidence. The tricycle rolled a few feet without tipping, and a small smile appeared on her face. Frank cheered quietly, careful not to overwhelm her, while her mother's eyes shimmered with tears. The other children in the neighborhood began to gather, whispering excitedly and pointing. Even the adults, drawn by curiosity, stopped to watch. There was a shared sense of anticipation, a communal feeling that this wasn't just a simple tricycle ride. It was a breakthrough, a moment of pure, unfiltered joy in the making. Then it happened. With one determined push, Lily rolled forward smoothly, gaining momentum. Her face lit up, eyes sparkling, and she let out a sound, a laugh, the first anyone had ever heard from her. It was soft at first, then louder, filled with delight and surprise. Frank's chest tightened, and even the neighbors who had never met her felt their hearts swell. The mute girl's laughter was like music, breaking through silence, uniting everyone around her in a shared emotional moment. Tears formed in her mother's eyes, and Frank blinked quickly to hide his own. The street transformed. People poured out of their houses, drawn by the sound of Lily's laughter. Neighbors who rarely spoke to one another hugged and smiled, cheering the little girl on. Children clapped their hands and shouted encouragement, creating an impromptu celebration. Frank watched quietly from the side, his hands resting on his knees. The tricycle wasn't just a machine, it had become a bridge. In that moment, it connected everyone to Lily's joy, her triumph over limitations, and the simple, profound power of kindness. Every smile and tear around him felt like a confirmation of his effort. Lily's confidence grew with each pedal stroke. She began to steer on her own, navigating small turns and bumps with increasing skill. Frank occasionally gave gentle guidance, but mostly he let her discover the joy herself. Her mother followed closely but didn't touch. She knew this was Lily's victory. The neighborhood kids began cheering in rhythm, creating a chorus that matched Lily's laughter. Even people passing by stopped to witness the scene. What started as a simple act of generosity had transformed into a neighborhood celebration, and the energy was contagious, spreading from person to person like sunlight across the street. By mid-morning, Lily was riding the tricycle confidently, looping around the driveway and occasionally zooming onto the sidewalk. Frank's eyes followed every movement, and he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had spent his life repairing broken machines, but this was repairing something deeper. He realized that his skills could give more than function. They could give joy, freedom, and connection. Lily's laughter continued to ring out, echoing down the street and bringing smiles to faces he didn't even know. It was a moment that none of them would forget. Even as the initial excitement settled, the magic lingered. Children lined up, eager to see Lily ride again, inspired by her determination. Frank's work had sparked something bigger than himself, a sense of community and empathy. Parents talked quietly to one another, sharing their admiration for the retired mechanic's dedication and Lily's courage. Her mother approached Frank, gratitude overflowing. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly, tears glistening. Frank smiled, shrugging humbly. "You don't need to." Seeing her laugh, "That's enough." It was enough indeed. As the day progressed, Lily rode over and over, each lap more confident than the last. Frank finally stepped back, watching her navigate the little obstacles of the driveway with skill. Neighbors lingered, laughing, crying, and sharing stories of their own childhood experiences. The street that had always been quiet on weekend mornings now felt alive with energy and hope. Frank realized that sometimes small gestures had the power to transform ordinary lives. A tricycle, built with love and care, had become a catalyst for joy, community, and the unforgettable sound of a child's first laughter. After that magical morning, Lily's life slowly transformed. She rode the tricycle every day, her confidence growing with each push of the pedals. Frank often watched from a distance, quietly proud of the small miracle he had helped create. Neighbors continued to stop by, sharing smiles and soft words of encouragement. Even those who had rarely interacted with Lily or her family found themselves drawn into the warmth and energy she now radiated. Her laughter, once a rare and precious sound, had become a daily joy that reminded everyone of the power of perseverance, kindness, and community connection. Frank began spending more time in the neighborhood, fixing small broken items for other children and families. His garage, once a quiet relic of his past life, became a hub of activity. Children came to see him, bringing toys, bikes, or tricycles that needed repair. Frank approached each task with the same care and dedication he had put into Lily's tricycle. His work became a bridge connecting generations. Parents watched their children learn patience, problem-solving, and creativity as Frank guided them. Lily often sat nearby, her laughter echoing in the garage, reminding everyone why his efforts mattered so deeply. Lily's mother noticed subtle changes in her daughter as well. The girl, once shy and hesitant, now approached the world with curiosity and determination. Her gestures, small but confident, reflected newfound independence. She explored corners of the yard she had previously avoided, interacted more with other children, and even attempted new physical challenges under her mother's watchful eye. It was as if the tricycle had unlocked not just movement, but a deeper sense of self-belief. Each ride strengthened her muscles, her coordination, and most importantly, her courage to face the unknown with a smile. The community around them also changed. Neighbors who had rarely interacted began to communicate more openly. Conversations started over fences, and small gatherings became frequent. The once quiet street hummed with laughter and friendly chatter. Adults found themselves reminiscing about their own childhoods, sharing stories of first bikes, scraped knees, and small victories. Children learned to cheer each other on, inspired by Lily's determination. Frank's single act of kindness had rippled outward, creating a sense of togetherness that had been missing. What began as a simple tricycle project had blossomed into a network of shared joy and support. Frank noticed that Lily's laughter had another effect. He felt lighter too. Retirement had brought him solitude and a sense of drifting purpose. But now, every smile and giggle reminded him that his skills could touch lives in meaningful ways. He realized that his years of experience were not just for fixing engines. They could build hope, confidence, and happiness. He worked with renewed energy, inspired to keep creating small moments of joy for others. Every day he saw Lily ride, he felt the satisfaction of a life well lived and a purpose rediscovered, hidden in the hum of a tiny tricycle's wheels. As weeks turned into months, Lily's improvement was remarkable. She could navigate curves, avoid obstacles, and even ride short distances on her own. Her mother often captured these moments, videos of her daughter laughing, pedaling, and occasionally glancing back at Frank with a grateful smile. Each recording became a treasured memory, a documentation of transformation powered by love, patience, and simple ingenuity. The neighborhood shared in these moments, celebrating each milestone as if it were their own. The joy that had started with one small act continued to grow exponentially, shaping lives in ways Frank had never imagined. The little tricycle had become a symbol of more than mobility. It represented determination, hope, and the transformative power of compassion. Children who had previously ignored one another learned to cooperate, sharing space and celebrating each other's successes. Parents saw firsthand how encouragement and trust could nurture growth and confidence. Frank's role in the neighborhood shifted too, from a retired mechanic to a mentor, friend, and quiet hero. His skills, once confined to machines, were now shaping human experiences, teaching lessons about kindness, perseverance, and the importance of community. Lily's mother often spoke of the day Frank had first brought the tricycle. "He didn't just build a bike," she said to friends. Tears glistening, he built courage, laughter, and a whole new world for Lily. Her words resonated with the neighbors, who had witnessed the changes firsthand. The street, once ordinary, now carried the echoes of daily triumphs, small but powerful. Frank never sought recognition. He simply continued his work quietly, content in knowing that he had played a part in creating these moments of happiness, bridging gaps and transforming lives with simple tools and a compassionate heart. As the seasons changed, Frank and Lily developed a routine. Mornings were often spent in the driveway, Lily riding the tricycle while Frank supervised. Afternoons were for small projects, sometimes with other children joining in. On weekends, the neighborhood often gathered to watch, turning ordinary days into celebrations of joy and progress. The once silent street now resonated with laughter, encouragement, and the soft hum of tricycle wheels. Frank realized that the ripple effect of kindness extended far beyond the immediate moment. influencing hearts, shaping attitudes, and inspiring future acts of generosity. Years later, the memory of that first laugh remained vivid. Lily had grown stronger, more confident and more independent, carrying with her the lessons of courage and resilience she had learned. The neighborhood retained the warmth and community that had blossomed from Frank's simple act. And though he remained the quiet, humble mechanic he had always been, his legacy was far greater than the machines he repaired. It lived in laughter, courage, and the bond of a community united by kindness. The tricycle, once a small gift, had become a symbol of hope and the extraordinary power of ordinary acts.